Hello everyone and welcome to Hanwell Zoo. This week we're going to be sharing with you a really important component of animal husbandry. We're going to be looking at their diets, most notably their diet preparation. So today I'm going to show you how I go around preparing breakfast for our flock of 22 chickens. The diet sheets are on the wall in front of me so I can follow them. They go through a 14-day rota system, so our chickens get different meals every day for 14 days, and that ensures that it doesn't get boring for them. So I've got all my equipment, everything's been sterilised, I've got all the ingredients that I need, so let's get started. So the first thing I go to is this. This is a maintenance pellet. And a maintenance pellet is a kind of pellet just like these. Sometimes they look very different, which is normally dry and it's got all the nutritional requirements that an animal needs inside it. So technically, if we were just to feed our chickens this, they should still be in top-notch shape, but it can get a little monotonous and boring, so we add different things to it. So this is the first ingredient to our dry mix. We'll be making two mixes, a dry mix and a wet mix. This is the first one. It's called a chicken layers pellet, and that just goes in their dish there. I've already pre-weighed everything, so I know exactly how much food our chickens are getting this morning. The next thing I'm going to add to the dry mix is this. This is called mixed corn, and it's got dried sweet corn in it, barley, wheat, lots of different healthy grains for our chickens to enjoy. I'll just get rid of these so it looks a little tidier. I'll give this a good mix so everyone gets a fair shout at the dry mix. Now the last thing I'm going to add to the dry mix is this, which is slightly an unusual ingredient. This is called cockle shell, and it serves two purposes. Chickens have two stomachs. The first stomach is a little like ours, where food is introduced to gastric acids and microbes and whatnot to help break down their food. But they've got a second stomach called a gizzard, as most birds do. And the gizzard is a really strong chamber, a really muscly chamber that really helps grind down animals' food or birds' food. What the chickens do, and what some other birds do, is they pick up little bits of grit or little bits of cockle shell, just like this, and they make their way into that gizzard, and when it's inside the gizzard, those bits of grit and cockle shell help grind up their food further, extrapolating more nutrition from it. So it's a really, really useful evolutionary device that chickens and birds have evolved to get as much out of their food as possible. The other reason we use cockle shell, and not just things like grit or sand, is because cockle shell is a really good source of calcium for our chickens. So especially this time of year, where they're laying us lots of eggs, we like to provide them with extra sources of calcium, because chickens, all birds, again, they get the calcium for their eggs from their bones. So when they eat calcium, that calcium will restore their bones, but they always get the calcium needed for their eggshells from their bones. So you always need to ensure that they have a good source of calcium constantly, so they don't come into any bother. And that is that. That is nicely done. That is our chicken's dry mix. So I'm just going to put that to one side and start on their wet mix. Now today is Tuesday, and it's the second week of our 14-day rota, so I've got all the ingredients needed for today's diet for the chickens. We have 100 grams of sweet corn, which after mealworms, which I'll show you in a second, this is probably their favourite food. The next, they are getting a whole pak choy. I'm just going to take the bottom off for ease. My bucket here, this is our compost bucket, and we take any offcuts, pop it in the bucket so we can take it to the composter later, minimising on our waste. And then the compost is then used in flower beds and vegetable patches within the zoo. Some of the things here, especially the courgette and the broad beans, we grow here at the zoo to help minimise our impact on the planet. So I'm just going to very quickly prepare the pak choy. And now for different animals, we have to cut the food or present the food in different ways, and it very much depends on the animal. So because chickens don't have teeth and they don't necessarily have any hands to grab food with, it's difficult for them to chew, and it's difficult for them to grab their food, especially when there's competition from other birds. And as I mentioned, we've got a flock of 22 chickens, so we usually cut the food rather small so a bird can come up, take a little piece, run away with it and swallow it at its leisure. So we make sure it's cut up nice and small, and that should be small enough. There we go, and I'll add that to our wet mix bowl. I'll carry on with the green stuff. So here we've got broad beans, mange tout and fine beans. And I just need to cut these up nice and small, just like the pak choy. Again, just to ensure that each bird can get to its favourite bit and there's enough for everyone. There we go, that's nicely done there. Then we will go to the apple. I've pre-weighed this apple. It's double of what I need, so we're only going to be using half. So I'll just put that to one side, and we'll use that half in another animal's diet this morning. And then I'm just going to take the core out, for no other reason other than I don't really like to feed them the core. I'm sure it's perfectly fine, but it keeps the weight down, I suppose, of the actual diet, so they're getting everything that they need. And I'm just going to chop these apples up nice and small. Bear with me because we are doing this in real time, and I don't have any time to re-record this video this morning because I've got diets for another 500 animals to make. But that's fine. It's a particularly brisk morning this morning. It's quite chilly outside and I've got a little bit used to it being sunny, so it's nice to be inside this morning. We've got a courgette, a carrot, we've done the apple, we've got a tomato, which I'm going to use the serrated knife for. People who cut tomatoes without a serrated knife have too much time on their hands because their knives are too sharp. I have to use the serrated knife, otherwise this knife just won't go through. I suppose I could have sharpened it before I started the video, but I forgot. So I used the serrated knife, but that goes through fine. There we go. Then that whole tomato goes into our wet mix. Let's try to get rid of some of this juice in there and get it out of our way. Now the next thing is cabbage. Now on their diet today, they're only getting about 50 grams of cabbage, and I reckon that's about that. I can weigh the whole mix afterwards just to make sure I haven't given them too much food today, but just for ease and speed, I'm going to assume that's around about 50 grams. To make sure all of those long bits get chopped up too. There's a few stragglers there. But cabbage is a really, really good, healthy food for chickens. It's full of iron and full of lovely calcium. As I mentioned, calcium is really, really important. It's really important that when we're selecting the items to feed our animals, that we get the right ones. So for instance, it's really important that we get a lot of calcium into our birds, especially this time of year where we're going to be breeding them and they'll be producing a lot of eggs. Just as I'm talking, I'm just looking for the grater. I found the grater, here we go. So where they'll be producing lots of eggs, so it's really important they get their calcium, but it's even more important to know the different components of every single food item that we use. As I talk, I'm just going to grate some of this swede. This is a swede, not a turnip, it's a swede. So it's really important to know the components of every item of food that we give to our animals. So for example, we feed spinach to a lot of the mammals, but spinach has a chemical in it called an oxalate, and what oxalates do in plants is they help store calcium. So that sounds really positive, and spinach, because of that reason, they've got lots of oxalates. Spinach has lots of calcium, but when eaten by an animal, oxalates actually inhibit the absorption of calcium. So if we gave our birds spinach, it would stop them absorbing all the calcium that we're so attentively giving them. So it's really important to know everything that's in the food, even bare basic raw food like these. It's important to know what constitutes its makeup, because it could have something in it that could have a dire effect. So we don't give our birds any spinach. That's enough. Clean that out. That's enough of the swede. We'll pop that there. Then I will take a carrot. It's a good workout in the morning, this is. Especially, as I mentioned, especially when you're preparing food for 500 animals. This is just for 22. So that goes in our compost box, and we'll put that in there. And then the last thing is our courgette. Now I weighed this courgette. It's about double of what I need, so I'm only going to shave it down to about half, and then put that to one side for one of the next diets that will have some courgette in it. And there we go. I'm going to pop that over there. As you can see, I am an incredibly messy cook. And that's our wet mix, nearly complete, but it's wet but not quite mixed yet. So we really have to get in there and mix that up. The main reason we mix it up is because it gives all the birds a good option, so they don't get stuck with one section that might just have one foodstuff in it. And it also encourages them to eat everything and not just their favourite stuff. So the next thing for our wet mix is these. These are mealworms. And mealworms are the larvae of an insect called a darkling beetle. They're really high in fat and high in protein, and they are just adored by all of our birds, but particularly the chickens. And that goes straight in there. The next thing I am going to add is a little bit of corn oil, just a touch. And as I mentioned with how oxalates inhibit the absorption of calcium in birds or in animals, we need to know what's in our food to know what is going to inhibit something, but also we need to know what to add, what's missing. So I add corn oil to the chicken mix because the fats in corn oil are really good at help delivering certain nutrients to the birds, specifically things like vitamin E, which is essential for a healthy chicken. And that corn oil won't be, the vitamin E won't be delivered to the bird properly without a little bit of fat to attach to it, which is why it's so important to have a balanced diet. When I hear people talk about, oh, I'm going to cut out carbs, or I'm going to cut out sugars, or I'm going to cut out fats, it doesn't make sense to me, because a little bit of lots of things are essential to a healthy diet, and therefore a healthy body. So obviously it's very, very good to limit certain things. Don't eat too many fats or sugars or carbohydrates like I do, but you have to have everything in moderation. Without this fat added, all of that hard work that I put into this diet, adding all of those delicious foods with those incredible vitamins and minerals inside it, without that little bit of fat that the corn oil provides and the mealworms provide, it won't get absorbed by the bird. You need something for it to bind to and for it to deliver it to the system. So here we are with our finished wet mix for the chicken's breakfast and our finished dry mix. So I'm going to pop them there, I'm going to pop them on our shelves, wait for them to be collected, and I am going to get on with making the other animals' diets this morning, and I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to be sharing a few of these videos this week, talking about different kinds of animals' diets. So the chickens is an omnivorous diet because they like to eat lots of different things, not just one type of food group. They eat vegetables and fruits and insects and lots of different things. So they're an omnivore. So we're going to be showing different diets this week, and then this Sunday we're going to be doing a live show talking all about our animals' diets, where you'll be able to ask any questions that you might have. Today's question for you little ones watching is, now you've seen me prepare a really healthy diet for a chicken, what is your favourite healthy food? I'll tell you what mine is. Mine, we have some carrots up here. This is my favourite healthy food. I love carrots. I love carrot cake. I love raw carrots. I love cooked carrots. I love boiled carrots and roasted carrots. I love coleslaw. I love katsu curry. I adore carrots, and this is my favourite healthy food. And I'd be really interested to know what your favourite healthy food is. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.